You know, it's really a pity that the African National Congress has a person like Mbalula as its Secretary-General. It's an embarrassment. You know, for an organization that once boasted the likes of Sol Blackie, Oliver Tambo, Duma Nokwe, and a few others, to end up with a Mbalula is actually a commentary on the state of the organization. How did we elect a person like this to that position?
Is Fikile Mbalula silencing dissent within the ANC, or is he protecting the party's unity? The battle over the BELA Act is heating up, and it's more than just policy. It's a power play. Welcome to Inkarhiit'stime with Kondos. Today we dive into the fiery debate over the BELA Act. ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula has issued a stern warning to party leaders who publicly championed the act, calling it an act of populism that undermines leadership unity. At the center of this controversy stands Panyaza Lesufi, hailed by some as the face of the BELA Act. But with opposition from the DA and a looming regulatory delay, has Lesufi truly won the fight? And is Mbalula justified in his stance? Let's unpack this critical issue.
It is a disappointment, this advance by the president and his cabinet, to those who said that we're going around preaching as though things won't happen. Preaching as though things won't happen. Even within our ranks, there are people who are just on top of their voices. BELA Act must be implemented. There is leadership here in this country, led by Ramaphosa of the ANC.
Comrade President, I want to close on this score and my apologies to those that are partners in the government of national unity. Comrade President, there is something that is called the Basic Education Amendment Laws. I'm asking you, President, politely and respectfully so, sign that law. Sign that law. There must be no institution here, President, when the 6th administration and this particular house has passed that particular law. And the law is very simple, President. We are prepared to listen to any other person that wants to raise any view. But the law is simple. All our children must be in the same classroom and taught by the same teacher. What's wrong with that particular proposal? What's wrong with that particular proposal? That the language of teaching must incorporate all 12 languages, that there must be no language that is excluded. What's wrong with that particular proposal? That every child that is in ECD must be a formal education system starting from ECD. What's wrong with that particular proposal? And therefore, President, sign that particular law. We'll debate later with all other people. Thank you so much.
To our President, in no uncertain terms, urging our President to do one thing and one thing only, allow BELA Act to kick in without any further delay. We urge this conference to urge its voice. We urge this special conference to be on the side of our children, to urge your voice as the South African Communist Party. You bring an end to discrimination to our children and indignity of our children. Never and never again will our children be decided whether they enter a school premises or not on the basis of the color of their skin or the language that they speak. Comrades, the agenda of BELA Bill or BELA Act, if it fails, comrades, there is no way that the agenda of NHI will succeed, because the enemy will have tested blood that they can put us back. So this is the period, comrades, where we need to stand firm together. This is the period, for the sake of our children in our country, betrayal is not an option. This is the period, comrades, where cowards must step aside, we the brave will go forward. Periods like this want us to strengthen our forces. Periods like this want a very strong and agile alliance. Comrades, we are not children of cowards. We are children of stalwarts like Harry Kwala, Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Albertina Sisulu, Helen Joseph, Sositogo, and many other comrades. If you touch us, slice souls. Thank you very much for
The BELA Act controversy. The Basic Education Laws Amendment Act has sparked national debate. Proponents argue it's a step towards inclusive education reform, while critics call it overreach. Panyaza Lesufi has emerged as a champion of this act, fighting tirelessly to push it forward.
That all children must be in a classroom of their choice. Even if they don't speak that language, they can at least be in the same school and learn together. And the property of the state belongs to everyone. No one can monopolize the property of the state on the basis that they speak a certain language and therefore this property belongs to them alone. But it must be maintained by a racial government that must pay teachers, that must pay the maintenance of the building, the facilities. But when other children must come in, we want to close them out and say you don't speak the language or you don't have the color that we have. We agree to that nonsense. That's the end of non-racialism. And that's the reason why we must be reasonable and challenge those that argue otherwise, that they must put facts on the table, that what's wrong if our learners or our children are taught by the same teacher, the same classroom, or at least they learn together, play together, and be in a position to sing together at cultural competitions. If we can't build social cohesion at that time, then that's the end of it. And the indignity of our people, in most instances, starts in the classroom. That quality education must be given to everyone. And there must be no one that is denied quality education because they are speaking a different language or they were born in a township. We agree to that. Then we've betrayed this revolution. And we've betrayed for those that stood for quality education for all. We can as much go back to Bantu education and leave Bantu education to be the only education. So we are very firm on it. I really believe that the president has done a right thing. Listen to those that still want an opportunity to present their case, but must not present the case that preserve that other children should be excluded. And the president has done right by signing this bill into an act to show commitment to build a truly non-racial South Africa. You can't be proud to watch rugby together and be angry for our children to be in the same classroom and be greedy and selfish and think quality education is only a preserve of your own children. Other children must not get that quality education. That notion must be rejected.
My fellow South Africans, on the 13th of September this year, I signed into law the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act, now known as the BELA Act. This act is vital to the transformation of the education system in our country. The act is an important part of ongoing efforts to build an education system that is more effective and more equitable in line with the precepts of our Constitution. The BELA Act continues the work that has been done over the last 30 years to ensure that all children have an equal access to quality education from their early years and throughout their schooling. As a democratic country committed to building a new society, we have stated unequivocally that all children must get an education that prepares them to succeed in life, no matter what the circumstances of their birth might be, no matter where they live, no matter what language they speak. In implementing this BELA Act, we are ultimately guided by the Constitution of South Africa.
The Bill of Rights guarantees the right of every person to equality. It also guarantees the right of every person to receive a basic education. Importantly, the Constitution says that every person has the right to receive education in the official language or languages of their choice where reasonably practicable. This is a right that applies equally to an English speaker as it does to a Zulu speaker. It also applies equally to someone who speaks Afrikaans as it does to someone who speaks Xitsonga, Sesotho, Sepedi, isiXhosa, Setswana, Luvenda, isiNdebele, or isiSwati. And now it also applies equally to someone who uses the South African Sign Language. The Basic Education Laws Amendment Act enacts measures that strengthen the ability of our schools to give effect to these constitutional rights. In the application of this law, we must ensure that no language is diminished. Rather, we must work to ensure that all official languages are valued and promoted. At the time that I assented to the BELA bill, I noted that a number of parties to the Government of National Unity and other key role players in our country had expressed their wish to further engage each other on sections of the bill that deal with issues of admission and language. I said that whilst I had assented to the bill, in the spirit of cooperation and meaningful engagement, I would delay the implementation date of the BELA Act in totality by 3 months. This would give the parties time to deliberate on these issues and make proposals on how the divergent views they hold might be accommodated. I also said, should the parties not agree on any approach at the end of the 3-month period, I would then direct the minister and the department to proceed with the implementation of the Act. Over the last 3 months, discussions have been held with a view of reaching consensus on these outstanding clauses of the BELA Act. Various formations outside of government have also made representations, both for and against the relevant sections. Last week, I received a report from the Government of National Unity Clearinghouse Mechanism. This is the structure which brings together the parties to the Government of National Unity and other parties represented in Parliament to deal with contentious issues and thereafter report to the leaders of the political parties that are represented in the Government of National Unity and also some in the Parliament. In their final report, the parties agreed that the Basic Education Law Amendments Act, BELA Act, should not be sent back to Parliament to make changes to the sections that were in contention. The Government of National Unity Clearinghouse participants agreed that the Act should be fully implemented. This view was endorsed by the leaders of the parties to the GNU in a meeting I held with them today. I accordingly advised them that I would proceed to sign a presidential proclamation to bring the Basic Education Law Amendment Act, the BELA Act, into operation from today. I have instructed the Minister of Basic Education to see to the full implementation of the BELA Act. I have also instructed the Minister to do what is necessary as customary with any law to ensure that the time frame of implementation, particularly with regard to the preparedness of the system for universal grade R access and the consequential regulations setting out the norms and standards are prepared. All bodies and officials responsible for the implementation of this Act are required at all times to act in accordance with the Constitution of our country, the law, and the relevant policies and regulations. We must therefore do everything in our means to ensure that every child, without exception, has equal access to a decent, quality education. We must therefore leave no child behind. Let us ensure that our children get the best education so that they can take our beautiful country and our diverse nation forward to a prosperous future. Morena, boloka setjhaba sa heso. Nkosi sikelela i-Afrika. God seën South Africa. God bless South Africa. Hosi katekisa Afrika dzonga. Mudzimu vapatuchedze Afrika Chipembe. I thank you all.
Fikile Mbalula's rebuke. Fikile Mbalula has slammed ANC leaders for publicly pushing the BELA Act as though there is doubt within the leadership. According to Mbalula, this behavior borders on populism and threatens the party's collective voice. He has vowed action against those undermining ANC processes.
Why will others speak on the sideways as though there is doubt about leadership, that it won't be provided? It is wrong. It is populist. It is populist. And we will act against populism in the ranks of the ANC. We will. We are observing it. It is not a plurality of ideas, intellectualism, dissent, genuine. It is populism. Why will any leader of the ANC not have confidence that matters of this nature are being handled and driven at the political level by the leadership of the ANC? When the president decided on this matter, leadership was provided, structures were briefed. Why now do we have to go on the sidelines that this must, as though there is doubt that the leadership will renege on the program of the National Democratic Revolution? Our mandate is very clear in this government, is to advance the NDR. Other forces and political parties, strategic opponents like the DA and other parties, the new arrivalists and all of that, will be opposed.
Lesufi's victory. Lesufi is being celebrated by his supporters as a victor in this fight. But is this celebration premature? The DA's call for regulations on contentious clauses indicates that the Act's implementation is far from certain. The road ahead is filled with bureaucratic hurdles that could delay progress indefinitely.
But yes, it does now mean that we as a system have to make sure that even though about 60% of the system provides grade R, we have to make sure now that we regularize even ECD centers that offer grade R. We have to make sure now that we have greater scrutiny there, that they are registered so that they can form part of the education system. So there's plenty of work to be done. But I want to assure South Africans that I am committed to moving with pace. But we need to make sure that we do this correctly, because my guiding light here is ensuring that the 13.5 million learners in South Africa are given an opportunity to have a quality education. And so I have to make sure that in doing so, the department and I are guided by that, and we place their interests at the center of all that we do. So there is plenty of work to get the system regularized and get it ready. And so that is why then the timelines become important. So I suppose I'm answering the question, Mariska, in a technical way. When will the Act be fully implemented? Well, it's implementable right now. However, the system needs to kick into gear. And the system is not at a place where there are certain things that can be done as of yet. But the president has commenced with it. So now we are moving at pace to make sure that the system catches up with that announcement. this is an important part of any legislation. And so the BELA Act will be no different. I want to make it clear that this act will be implemented and its implementation will be led by me. The implementation will be done in a manner that protects the rights of all our children and all our schools from any form of victimization at all times. Pursuant to this, I have already instructed my team to immediately develop guidelines that will be sent to public schools and provincial education departments by the end of January 2025.
Populism versus party unity. Is Mbalula right to prioritize party unity over individual leaders' advocacy? Critics argue that silencing leaders stifles debate, while supporters believe it ensures the ANC remains a cohesive force. This conflict highlights a broader tension between democratic debate and party discipline within the ANC. The BELA Act has become more than just an educational policy. It's a battleground for political power, leadership, and party unity. While Panyaza Lesufi has fought hard to champion this act, Fikile Mbalula's warning signals a deeper struggle within the ANC. The question remains, can the ANC navigate these internal tensions and deliver on the promises of the BELA Act?
So unless the DA and the ANC find each other, there can't be any agreement coming out of a process initiated under the GNU.
But you do agree that ultimately the decision lies with the president here. Whatever the agreement that the minister has announced bears no influence on the president's powers to ultimately decide on the way forward.
Well, the president is bound to act rationally. And if he approved a representative, very senior representative of the presidency into NEDLAC, and if the parties at NEDLAC found each other, and if they produced a signed agreement, and if that signed agreement says we cannot implement BELA sections 4 and 5 until there are norms and processes that have been established as norms and standards and processes and regulations. Until that happens, we can't implement. That is what I understand the agreement is. And so Minister Gwahube was going ahead to start drawing those up. So if the president, who is not completely divorced at all from what his representative did in those discussions, he has got to apply his mind very carefully to what Minister Gwahube says to him.
Because there is no threat in this bill. It can only be a threat to racists. That's it. But from a point of view of non-racialism in this country, this bill is not, this act, not a bill, this act is not a threat to non-racialism, to a better South Africa, to a united nation. It's not a threat. It's not a threat. It just opened the doors of learning and culture to all. So those who want to preserve this system for a particular group or class only, they will oppose this bill. But this bill is victory to democracy, is victory to non-racialism, is victory to a united nation, and is victory to the GNU. So it's not a win-win situation as it's defined, and I don't want even to get there, because they can explain that win-win for themselves and their constituency. I'm not in the business of speaking for the DA, and we are not DA, we are the African National Congress.
What do you think? Is Fikile Mbalula right to act against leaders vocal about the BELA Act? Or does this move suppress necessary debate within the party? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Inkarhiit'stime for more insightful political analysis. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged. Thank you for watching and take care.